we are ready to run the repository upgrade. So we have updated all the bits of Siebel. We have launched Siebel quickly to see the application is fine. Post-install database update has been verified by the log file and report. And now time to run the repository upgrade. So the first thing you have to do is open Siebel Tools or Web Tools, go to the Workspace dashboard or Workspace Explorer, and make sure you create an integration workspace on whatever is the state of your project. That could be the main workspace, or it could be an integration workspace if you use parallel development. So you create a new integration workspace under whatever state of application you want to apply the repository upgrade. So in my case, I want to be on top of things. So my latest version of main is 18. So I create a workspace on top of main 18 and make that an integration workspace, of course. And I always call it int_ru for repository upgrade. So you have to do that every repository upgrade. Don't reuse that workspace because it must have the latest information that you want to apply the repository upgrade to, in case with reference to the objects you have modified. So in this main 18 workspace, there are standard objects which I have modified, which will also be modified in the repository upgrade, just to drive home the point of what happens exactly. And we have discussed this in great detail in one of the previous videos, what types of changes we have made and how you can identify what will happen. So now this integration workspace is where the utility will import SIF files, and those SIF files will of course cause conflicts or not with other standard objects that you might have modified. So this is the usual bit, creating an integration workspace. We'll come back when it's done. So that integration workspace has been created. Again, it's important that it is based on whatever is the latest, highest version of objects definitions that you want to apply it on top of. So with that, let's dig out the repository upgrade command line. So I'm using a script that I have prepared. So you run the repository upgrade executable or SH utility on Linux on your development environment only from the SIP server bin. And it has various parameters. You can actually investigate quickly by running it without any arguments. So let's do that. So let's go to SIP server bin and run repository upgrade. And you'll see it does not really run. Well, it tries to, but it has no arguments. And check out all the required arguments so you know what you have to pass. And also make sure you understand all the auxiliary arguments that you can pass in, such as the -9, which is not optional. You have to pass in -9 with the parent workspace name, and the other ones are the usual bits of passwords and users and table spaces. Make sure you include the languages for your environment if you have non-primary. And -9 is followed by the name of the workspace, and that's obviously the workspace I just created. So without further ado, let's copy that script and let's run it. Okay, and of course, depending on your span, on your gap between the versions, it will now evaluate when was the last time you ran a repository upgrade. And it could be that you never run it, and so you're in for a long wait, because 20.3, anything upwards 20.3 will then be applied, which is a lot of, which is 4+ years at the time of this recording. And if you have applied the repository upgrade in a recent versions, like I did in 23.10, it will find that out. There are tables and columns where it will look into, and it will then figure out what it has to apply in order to accomplish the repository upgrade to your desired, well, to your target version, which in my case is 24.6. So well, the command line will actually tell us, or the log file. So we'll just wait a little bit more until the command line spits out some information here. So yeah, so it has figured out some things after a while, and let's see what it has figured out. Just go back up here. So you see it reports, well, it's busy already. It reports the current content version 24.6, current schema 24.6, and current repository version, which is older, naturally, 23.10, or it could be even older in your case, or younger, depending on when you ran repository upgrade the last time, or if you ran it at all. And it lists all the builds available, which is impressive, 20.3 all the way up to 24.6. And for repository and seed, it determined, okay, I have to run 23.11 up to 24.6. And for schema and manifest, well, for some reason, it just decided to include 23.10 as well, even if we have that already. But that doesn't really hurt to run it on top of existing data. It will just ignore it. And it has already started the schema installation. So again, repository upgrade does 4 things. So make sure to take a backup of your database before you run it, because it will modify your database schema as we just witnessed. It applies schema for schema changes that are included in the repository upgrade zip file. It will, in case of 24.6, it also includes manifest for OpenUI for the Redwood theme. It could include other manifest data, but it's quite rare. But it's the second thing that it will import. And the third, well, not necessary in that order, but number 3 is repository upgrade itself, the SIF file import into that workspace. It will create another integration workspace and a developer workspace underneath to do that. And it will also import seed data. So super important to take a database backup before you run repository upgrade, because it really alters your database, and schema-wise and content-wise. And with a backup and restore, obviously, there's just a very smart and easy way to recover when anything goes wrong. So you just restore your database, you fix the issue, and you run again. So, well, you see it's busy importing schema, and we'll pause the video recording here, and we'll come back when anything interesting happens. So, a repository upgrade to 24.6 is quite intense, no matter where you come from. In our case, I'm coming from 23.10. That was my last repository upgrade on this environment. And so it has applied the schema changes from 23.11 upwards. It has imported the repository files, as we can see here, from 23.11 upwards. So the repository import completed. It then proceeded to the seed import. So nice to see the sequence here. So schema first, repository second, seed import third. And it has imported the seed data from 23.11 to 24.6. And then it proceeded into the manifest import. So there is a bit of manifest for 24.4, obviously, but also a big chunk for 24.6, which is the part of the OpenUI manifest that is super relevant for the Redwood theme. And so it's currently doing that. So I am tailing the log file here. So you see that it runs a lot of ODBC SQL, direct SQL statements against the database to get that manifest in there. So I have no idea what it does actually, but it does a lot of SQL, a lot of SQL, and that has been going on for quite some time, for a few minutes, so probably a few minutes more before the repository upgrade is fully finished. So again, we need to be patient and maybe check on the log files, check Task Manager for is there any progress, is there any movement. There is indeed on my system, so everything is still A-OK. And once it's done, once it's finished, we will of course be hopefully able to run the Redwood theme. So on our path to Redwood, we are getting super close. And there we have it. So after quite some time, which is completely normal as it seems, the manifest import for 24.6 has finished, and we get the usual, well, usual since 23.7 that is, we get the usual reminder that we shall please review WebTools archive SIF attribute difference, resolve any conflicts. Once done, click Apply Changes to apply your decisions. If you do not make any changes, all incoming configuration will be used. So Oracle is pretty clear about all incoming configuration will be used. So that means incoming in what the SIF files contained. And remember that discussion about the merge, applying file-based changes first, so with a preference or a default setting. And then, of course, we have a workspace. We have a developer workspace now where these changes are visible, and the workspace is still editable. This is also something that Oracle changed in 23.7 a while ago. So you have to make sure you understand and resolve the conflicts and then merge it upstream by delivering that developer workspace in that automatically created integration workspace, which is called Ensemble update here. So you get the names, that's your developer workspace underneath. And then you can deliver it further upstream until it reaches the integration workspace or main level that you desire. So it's time to do two things. First, let's fire up WebTools, which has the nice login page again with the Redwood login page, but WebTools, of course, is not using Redwood. Well, of course, but that's the focus point of Oracle is clearly on the application with that. So let's check out what Oracle said here. So we go to Workspaces and we locate that integration workspace. So here's int ru, has no content whatsoever right now, because Oracle creates another workspace right under that has no content either. The content that is imported, the incoming stuff, is right here. And remember, that is a SIF import using merge logic. And so it has applied changes in this workspace only. And we can open this workspace. And then once opened, you can go to Archive, SIF Attribute Differences. So this will show the SIF differences for that workspace. And that works whenever you use seepdef CLI, the headless Siebel Tools command line utility. So when you do a batch import on your own, that will work as well. So here's the changes visible. Let's zoom in a little bit because this is going to get very interesting as we have, and now we have that post-import fact finding mission. So we can see all the applets that have been changed, plenty of applets. So your task will be to identify the standard applets that you have modified since the last repository upgrade or ever, and then identify the applet. So let's just presume we have modified the activity list applet WCC home, and their Oracle would have sent in the SIF file a HTML number of rows property of 5, and the pre-existing value in your repository was 7. So that could be a custom number or not, but it will be changed. So if you're happier with the 7, then check keep pre-existing value. So then the pre-existing value will be used when merging or when delivering that workspace into the target. However, I don't want to do this, so we will have plenty of options here to actually do this. So applets or any object type that is listed here has changes, including applications like Siebel Field Service. So as we have said repeatedly, if you have modified any of these standard objects, take a very close look and understand what happens. So we have one business component that we know we have modified in our example video. So check out that video if you haven't seen it. And remember that we already previewed the changes that will come with the technique of importing the SIF file, just stopping importing, just looking at the differences. And it's the same image here, the same things happened. So for example, there is a custom comment and the standard value was empty. So the imported value will be the standard value. And so when this will get delivered, it will obliterate your comment. Now you might want to live with that, but I don't. So I keep the pre-existing value. And it's super hard sometimes to really identify that. So we later will investigate a view that I provide with DevPops, and you can use that view to visualize the data in those tables that Oracle provides, but in a flat configuration. So better to have all the records, and you then can query basically where imported value is empty and pre-existing is not. And that would be a good indicator. Okay, Oracle is going to override something and you don't want that. I definitely don't want that for the sort spec. And with the sort spec, I would say, okay, let's leave it because let's accept the Oracle value here just for an example. And what happened to the fields on that business component? So there's a new field added. Sorry, not a new field. That's a field I updated. And again, the comments will be obliterated. The required flag will be set back to no. So definitely we don't want that. We set the required flag because we customized that business component, that standard business component. Also keep the comment. And well, compare the pre-default value. So days is the standard pre-default and months is the one we choose. So of course we check the boxes right here. So we want to make sure we keep those changes. Same for the other field, so that we set to required and have a comment. And in our example video, we also had a workflow process. So you would have to repeat that for every standard object you have on every type, and there's of course a workflow process. So that's the workflow process I also modified on purpose. So there are several steps in the workflow that have been modified, and the workflow we will have a hard time getting the workflow back to a state that would have all the Oracle changes and our changes, because simply just checking flags here will not work. For example, for the layout. So that's actually the step branch, connector, layout. That will just be back to standard, or we could have our layout. And also there is the deactivate step, which we moved around. So Oracle, the import will move it back. We have the branches which were connected. So we see that the standard endpoint for this branch was the end step, and we have a custom step here, which will be part of the workflow. And we want to make sure that's connected. So let's try to keep that two-step name. And also for other steps. So we'll just have to go through each step connector, and where we have a different endpoint, we'll change that. But you see my point here, that this might be very painstaking and time-consuming. And you rather want to visually compare those workflows later by taking screenshots and then figure out what to do and just create a new version of your workflow and apply the changes from Oracle. There will probably be fewer changes from Oracle than on your side. So you decide how to do it. I'll try to get it done like that. So here again we have different layouts because we moved things around. So I think I got all of them. Yeah. So I just fixed the endpoint issue, and also I have input arguments. So I remember where they are, and you might not remember. So it's really find a way of identifying these changes, where, for example, an imported value is empty and pre-existing is not. And here I want to keep this as well. So let's see if we can keep most of the stuff here. And also here. Okay, so again, you keep doing this that way, or you just keep writing up a backlog so you can make the changes after the fact in a new version of your workflow. It's up to you. So this view is helpful. The information in the tables below is super helpful. So get your SQL together, use the view I'll introduce in a few moments. And then if you check the flag, if you check the pre-existing value flag in any case, you have to click Apply Changes. And we're just gone here, so we will deliver this in a moment. But before we deliver, let's also take a look at the log file. So there's a big log file, of course, and there's a HTML report. So we do want to check out that report as well. It says successful execution, and in the repository section, yeah, if you expand all these sections, you have a pretty good idea. Same information what we had in that view, but with the version number where it came from. Schema-wise, we have the information what has been added or modified. So actually there was an inactivated or removed index here in the EVT Act. That actually was added and removed. That's interesting. So probably a bug fix. And in the manifest, we have plenty of stuff because Oracle has in 24.6 added the Redwood theme, and you can see that, well, the expression really gives it away. This is all for the Redwood theme, including the manifest entries to make Redwood work. So we are on the path to Redwood. Very good. We have the manifest there, and we have plenty of seed data, including, for example, the list of values entry for the Redwood theme. So again, we're on the path to Redwood. So with the changes understood and the outcome of the repository upgrade, we're back in Siebel Web Tools with the Workspace dashboard. I've already opened that Workspace, the import Workspace for the repository upgrades. I'm going to now deliver it into its parent. And to get started, get versioning, note that since the change in 23.7, Oracle also puts that message into the version or checkpoint window, so you really understand, okay, you should be doing that only when you have applied your changes. So that is okay. RU 24.6 as a comment. And now I can submit it into the parent. So that's empty right now. So I will just submit and deliver. And once that's done, we are going to deliver into the next integration workspace and then to main. So the first delivery has completed, and we can do some tests here. So we are in evaluation mode anyway. So here's the delivered workspace, and it would be super interesting to see what happened to our business component or workflow. Do they have kept the values or not? So we will be able to see that right here when we open our workspace. And we have to open it anyway. And now let's close the Workspace dashboard. Let's get to that business component that we have chosen as our victim BC here. And that should have the custom sort spec and Oracle sort spec, because that's what we chose. We're setting those flags, and also the comments are back. So it has fared pretty well. Again, if you have record-wise object definitions, not so much as a grid like a workflow or a grid layout or a code, where Oracle does not really ship any code, then we have our custom field still, of course. We didn't expect that to go away. And we have that field here with the required flag still set. So very good. And the comment is also here. And there's another field here which also should still have the required flag and the comment. So everything's preserved because we set those flags, and that's super helpful. But again, it requires knowledge, deep knowledge. Actually, what have you done over the past maybe 20 years? So we'll also investigate other options later, how to recover from a repository upgrade that, well, set some things back for you. And let's check out the workflow. So there it is. And we can view it in WebTools, of course. So the custom step. Oh, sorry, that's sorry, that's not the workflow. That's the one. Click the wrong one. Again. So there we go. So yeah, as expected, not a pretty sight. A bit of carnage here. The endpoint of the 3 connectors, that's okay. Looks okay-ish, but definitely moving things around during customization is a necessity. So we see now that the location of the steps are on top of each other. So our custom step is here, and that's kind of behind the other steps. Also, any changes. So we still have the changes in the here in the input arguments, because we check the boxes, but still it might not be possible to recover a workflow, a customized standard workflow that also gets a repository upgrade. So you probably have to figure it out, let's say workflow by workflow, what's best. But good to see that what we expect to happen actually has happened here. And now, of course, we can go on by submitting this integration Siebel update workspace into the int.ru, which is, again, the one we created for the repository upgrade. So we submit that and we deliver it. And once it's done, we'll come back and take a look at the next steps. So one step further on the path to Redwood, we have delivery into int.ru, the one integration workspace everything started with in the repository upgrade. So that, of course, will be the same as int Siebel update at this point. So no need to double check on the business component, etc. But still has to be delivered upstream, in our case, to the main workspace, because that's where it lives in my environment. And also the main workspace I have migrated to a test environment, or it could be production environment. And of course we have to talk about the migration too. So Okay, so still a few steps to accomplish. So I'm opening int ru right now. And then, of course, a little bit repetitive here, but now we will create main 19. So that will be incrementally migrated then to the, well, higher environment that I have picked. So we deliver that. And let's do a clean comment. Make sure we understand what happened here. And again, when it's finished, we'll come back and take a look. All right, so everything we need for Redwood is now in the main branch of our development environment, creating a new version of main, of course, there. So a total of 75 new things, one removed, and 116 updated object definitions are the result of a repository upgrade from 23.10. So that is technically 23.11 all through 24.6. So 8 monthly releases. And of course, we do want to check it out. So do we have Redwood in the development environment? So let's open call center or any application that is. And of course, we must make sure. So let's look at technical support. So we have application version 24.6, we have repository version 24.6, and that looks very good. So now let's see if we can go to settings and we check the side menu option, and well, a little bit of disappointment here, so probably needs a proper cache reload or something, but let me just type Redwood here and save that. So let's log out and back in, fingers crossed. Okay, of course nothing happens. And one more time. So the issue was the cache indeed. So I have just reloaded the list of values cache. That is because my object manager was running. And so, yeah, we have Redwood. So let's enjoy Redwood for a while. So the we have plenty of videos out there that demonstrate Redwood, but of course you have a clean look and feel across all the views. The pop-up applets are interesting in that they appear on the side in a drawer style, so that's also something that Oracle has, well, modified in that theme. So any pop-up applet really, so that includes, for example, technical support is now in that side drawer style, which allows you to see more of what goes on in the background. It's still a modal pop-up, it's still a dialogue, a jQuery dialogue, but now, of course, it adds to the enhanced look and feel. So, yeah, Redwood is there. Our path to Redwood on the development environment is accomplished. So well done, congratulations. It was quite a journey to do the repository upgrade properly and understand what happens. And now we still have to migrate these changes to the higher environments, test and production, RR environments. And one thing about the repository upgrade that we haven't really covered so far is the fact that it not only, well, does what we've seen, it also does something, well, quite stealthily so. So if we look at the command line, and let's just run it one more time empty, we see that there is a parameter -m seed imp creation for migration application, and it defaults to the log directory. So basically the log directory will hold an INP file, an input file for the application data service that we must use during migration to migrate the seed data. So during migration, we will of course migrate the repository stuff through the incremental or full repository migration. That will include the manifest and schema changes. So 3 boxes ticked, but the 4th box is the seed data. And that is, for example, that LOV entry for Redwood. So that is very important, super important to get that seed data over. We can't run the repository upgrade on the RR side. So let's check out that log folder, or actually do a search across the SIF server folder for a file called, well, anything with INP. Probably too many, but datamig.inp, and we're looking for a datamig.inp file. Let's view this a little bit differently. So it should reside in the repository upgrade log folder. So look for a datamig.inp file with a timestamp that matches your last run of the repository upgrade, which looks good here. We can of course sort. Yeah. And so that's the last one produced. There are others produced by post-install database update, but post-install database update is applied in the runtime environment as well. So this is the one we're interested in. So let's check it out. And it will have all the necessary records identified for each table by the row IDs to be exported. And a list of values is not in there. Sorry for saying that before, because list of values is transported with the application workspace data service, but anything else that is pretty much required for running the correct repository version in your test or production environments is here. So, okay, we have that datamig.inp file buried deep down in the log folder. So let's move it out from here and move it where it belongs. In my case, so we're preparing for the migration here. So that's pretty much the last step in your repository upgrade. Make sure you capture that file and make sure you understand how to use it. That will be in the next video. And put it in the migration, in your migration folder on the file system. There's an INP folder, and you're going to put that file here where it belongs, so it can be picked up by the application data service. So you have done whatever you can on the development environment to enable Redwood, and now we need to migrate to the RR environment. So that will be covered in the next video. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.